Hi, shalom friends. It has been said, if you want something accomplished, give it to a busy person. Now that seems to be counterintuitive. If he's busy, how is he going to have time for you? But actually, the statement is pretty true. Think to yourself, why is he always busy? And the answer is because he's always doing something. Person who has all the time in the world, chances are it's because he accomplishes very, very little, hence he has so much time. But the person who's constantly busy often is a very productive person, and if you want something to be fulfilled, give it to a busy person. Now, what are the secrets? How does a person become from a leisurely person to a busy person? Well, amongst the many, many qualities that it takes to create a productive, healthy, busy human being, one of the most important is the concept of learning to prioritize. So let's say, for example, a busy person knows that he has 30, 40 items that he wants to do the following day or during the day. So he might be a person that has enough system within himself or discipline within himself to actually write down the things he wants to accomplish. But writing down all of the things you want to accomplish is not as important as putting it in order. Which one goes first? When you figure out that the first thing I want to do is this, and then second, and then third, and you're not going to depart from the order, chances are that person will become, who is orderly, will become more productive. You know, this is easily demonstrated by a very famous example that was repeated countless times in many, many universities and in motivational seminars. A fellow comes in with two assistants. One's carrying a big tub, an empty tub, and the other guy comes with shopping bags filled with items. And the fellow comes to the front, puts on the desk a large empty tub, and asks one of the people, I have some blocks, can you please put it in? And the fellow gets up and puts in wooden blocks to the top. And then the presenter says, is there any more room to put in a block? He says, no. He said, are you absolutely sure? He said, I'm trying. There's no room left. Then he calls someone else and he says, we just heard how this gentleman says that there's no room left, and he gives him a bag of gravel. And he says, see if you can put some gravel in it. And of course, on the sides, and on the corners, he's able to put in a lot of gravel until there's no more room for gravel. And he says, are you absolutely sure? He says, I'm absolutely sure there's no more room. He calls up a third person and gives him a bag of sand. He says, try to put some sand in it. Of course, sand is much smaller than gravel, and it goes in the nooks and the crannies. And now the thing is absolutely filled. He says, can you put in any more sand? No, I cannot. So he calls in someone else, gives him a pitcher of water, and he pours the water. Now, the most obvious lesson is, you see, there's always room for something else, but that's actually not the lesson at all. The lesson is the order. First you start with the bigger things, and then the smaller things, and then the smaller things, and you'll find that if you do the more important / larger items, once you do that, you will find time and room for smaller things, and when that is accomplished, even for petty things and insignificant things. So, what's it going to be? Email in the morning or tefillin? I wouldn't equate the two, but I would suggest that they might be both important. Well, if you start off with your email in the morning, there's a very good chance you get caught up with the email, the lesser of the two, and you might never get to the tefillin. But if you start off with the tefillin, which is the larger and the more important of the two, chances are you will be able to do your next task. So what's it going to be? A 2-minute phone call to your mom or a 20-minute phone call to your friend? Both important. Well, chances are, put it on the priority list. If going to make the phone call to your mom is a commandment of respecting and honoring parents, do that first. You'll have time for the 20 minutes. 20 minutes, you might not have time for that mitzvah of kibbut av, and so on and so forth. Actually, it has been suggested that this concept of priority can even be seen in a Torah story, which happens to be, those of you that are watching this broadcast, happens to be this week's Torah portion. We read about a very righteous man. His name was Noach. Through him, the world was saved. He had an ark. He saved his family. He saved all of the animals. And when he leaves the ark after a year of taking care of them, he comes out and he sees a world that has to be repopulated, and everything has to start from the beginning. So he goes out and he becomes Ish Adam. He becomes a man of the field, and he works in agriculture. Says the Bible. What's the first thing that he planted? A vineyard. And vineyards, of course, produce wine. And the story continues. He drank the wine, and then something not so nice happened. He got drunk, and with terrible repercussions. And many of the thinkers of Israel sort of ask, why it sounds like he did something wrong. But since when is planting a vineyard something not beneficial? His job was to make things grow again. So he did his job. He planted a vineyard. Not only that, I think after a year's work in the ark, we would begrudge him a l'chaim. After all, wine is not only a beverage, it's not only a healthy beverage, but it also has that wonderful, miraculous quality of bringing a little bit solace and joy to a person. So what's wrong with that? That's what God put into the wine. And some of the people suggest there was nothing wrong with it at all. But the question is, why did he do it first? If he would have made a list, what does mankind need more? What's more fundamental to existence? Wheat or wine? Barley or wine? Vegetables or wine? I think you would have to agree that basic sustenance would go before a beverage which is not only healthy but also gratifying and joyful. So what was his mistake in italics? His mistake was not that he did something wrong, but he did the less important before the more important. And the story continues that when you do the less important before the more important, sometimes the repercussions and the results are really very unsavory. So friends, we have our work cut out in front of us. All of us are busy. We all have things to do. We all have much to accomplish. And we have the time to do it. Otherwise, God wouldn't give it to us. Part of our challenge in life is to learn what to go first, second, and then third. Well, we have a Torah, we have the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, we have Jewish tradition. Let's put that first, and everything else will follow. Shalom, and good luck on being a productive and healthy human being.